Hello everybody, happy new week. Today's chat comes courtesy of one of my followers on Twitter, Mwinji. Shout out Mwinji Siame. Mwinji requested this chat to delve into the rental property market in Lusaka. So we're going to be digging into the rental market across the industrial, commercial, and residential property classes. Just trying to get an understanding of what drives the market dynamics and what you should know as you get into the market for any of these properties. Okay, so let's dig right into it. We're going to start with commercial assets. So typically in Lusaka, for commercial assets, be that for office space or retail space and what have you, we would typically expect rates in between $11 and $15 a square meter in rent. That would be dependent obviously on the condition of the property, the location, obviously, which drives its demand. But you typically expect rentals ranging between $11 and $15 a square meter in the commercial real estate market. In the industrial market, it's a different story altogether. So in the industrial market, you'd be looking at warehousing, you'd be looking at distribution centers, depots, etc., etc. You'd be looking at factory space. You'd be looking at, assets like that. In industrial, it's a different rate altogether. So you typically get rentals ranging in between $2 and $4 per square meter. You might go lower than $2 for open spaces that don't have any particular housing. So for instance, you'll find people renting out parking space, so if you have an open bare piece of land, you'd rent out parking space sometimes for even as little as $1 per square meter. But typically you get rentals in between $2 and $4 per square meter for industrial assets. On the residential market, on the other hand, it becomes a completely different story. And the nuances in this particular asset class would be explained by a lot more considerations than you would in the other two. Okay, and what are those things you want to think about, or what are those considerations you want to make as you seek to understand the residential rental market? Lusaka, for instance, is very different than the Copperbelt. It's very different from Livingston. It's very different from other parts of the country. So you would get a 3-bedroom house, exact everything. You move it from Lusaka to a different town, and that house could potentially fetch a completely different rate than it would here. Typically a lower rate. Now, people will ask you, why is rental property in Lusaka so high, relatively high? A few things. Lusaka is the capital city, obviously. It is the most densely populated city in the country. So there's a lot of demand. Actually, it would be fair to say that we are underhoused at the moment. I would imagine we have a significant housing deficit. I don't have the numbers for Lusaka in particular. I know what the numbers are for the country, but I don't have the numbers for Lusaka in particular. But I would wager we are significantly underhoused in Lusaka. So there's a lot of demand for residential property in Lusaka, owing to the size of the population, the number of people coming in looking for opportunities, jobs, business opportunities, what have you, looking for accommodation. That I imagine would be the reason number one. The second reason is the proximity to places of productivity. So, for example, Rhodes Park is a lot closer to the central business district than Mino Ibex. Okay, so it's going to take you longer to get into the CBD from Minwood Ibex than it would from Roadspark. You'll probably spend a lot more on transport if you're using public transport. If you're not, you're using your own transport, you probably sit in traffic a lot less if you're driving from Roadspark into the Central Business District than you would from Minwood Ibex. Okay, therefore, you will likely fork out a lot more for rent in Roadspark than you would in Minwood Ibex, even for the same quality of property. It's just how it works. Okay, that would be the second one. The other factors are varied. You have what is usually known as location progress. Another thing people think about as they're pricing their properties for lease. They understand that there's quite a lot of activity that is looking to happen around that place, or around that area. There's developing infrastructure going in that direction, road infrastructure, public amenities, what have you, which will make it a lot more attractive for would-be tenants, either in the immediate or long-term horizon. So just a few things there to dig into, sort of understand why Lusaka rental is the way it is. Okay, so a quick recap. Commercial property, anything in between $11 and $15 a square meter. May or may not include your taxes. Okay. Industrial property, anything in between $2 and $4 a square meter. Could be lower for open space, space without any housing on it. You would fetch, sometimes it fetch $1 a square meter for open parking space, for instance, or open storage space, which also works for some industrial purposes. Residential market is a lot different. I couldn't give you a figure because the prices vary, but the Lusaka rental market is very different from the rental market in other parts of the country for various reasons. Population, driving increased demand for these properties. We have a significant housing deficit in the country at the moment. Something to think about for property developers, by the way. That's a very real need to solve for. Housing. We are significantly underhoused in Zambia at the moment. Not just Zambia, actually, sub-Saharan Africa. There's a huge millions of housing units a deficit in sub-Saharan Africa. So business opportunity there for those that would be interested. Population demands. Second one would be proximity to areas of productivity, less time in traffic, more convenient for you, and so on and so forth. Therefore, rental prices going, looking up, and so on and so forth. Yeah. That wraps up our video for today. I hope you find this information helpful. I look forward to the next one, which will likely delve into shopping malls. Yes, shopping malls dotting the Lusaka landscape, the Zambian landscape lately, but more importantly, the Lusaka landscape. Okay, so do stay on the lookout for that one. Thank you for your time. Glad you could join us. Before you go, it will be nice of you to hit the subscribe button so we can keep bringing you more of this content. Yeah. Cheers.